Hey friends. Still here. Still in my beautiful hotel room. Don't have to leave yet. They're not kicking me out until at least the day after tomorrow. And what I have been experiencing, and it's weird to admit this because I came out here for a conference on philanthropy, which in some ways is about as it's just never something that I've considered to be central to my own work life, my own career. And as I was coming out here, there was a moment where on the first day I had these great conversations, and then there was a part of me, that part of my mind that said, are you really, like, is this just you jumping into another thing that can be a distraction? Is it just I said on the first day I had this great conversation with a colleague about picking a spiritual path and then sticking with it, and how one of the first translators of the Tibetan Book of the Dead said that translation had been written specifically for Americans, Westerners in general, but particularly for Americans, because Americans have a pronounced tendency to dive into a form of spiritual practice or a spiritual path or tradition with real gusto and just total commitment and energy, and then when it gets hard, we tend to think, maybe I'm on the wrong path. Maybe the problem is the path. The lesson, of course, being that every one of those paths, any path we pick, is going to get hard at some point. And the option of simply like abandoning one path and selecting another one does our ultimate evolution a tremendous disservice, because it means we don't actually go through those difficult thresholds. We keep trying to find a path that somehow gets us around them. So I was looking at that as a kind of like a warning, like, is that what I'm doing here? Is that what's happening? But two things showed up for me. One of them showed up at the time, and one of them showed up more recently. The one that showed up at the time was, I'm allowed to let my heart and my body and my mind resonate with something. I don't have to be selecting a new path in order to be, in order to allow enthusiasm to come through me. I can allow that, and in fact, it's a good idea to allow that. That's important. And the thing that has come through over the last, about 48 hours since that time is, I have had more little synchronistic moments of meeting a random person, the exact right random person who seemed to be magically planted in the seat next to me or at the table with me. That's been an almost constant experience. Almost every time I've sat down, something like that has occurred. And that's hard to explain away. That's the kind of thing where when I think about like what is showing up for me, it's what's coming through me, what am I doing here? It feels like it feels like a lift. It feels like there's just a gentle updraft underneath my wings. It's a remarkable feeling. And it's in so many ways, and so beyond even just the human beings that I'm meeting, I'm coming across information. I did a session today that I felt like they had written it word for word for me. It spoke so directly to where I am and to where I'm moved to go, that it was like, I feel like you wrote this for me. I walked into this room and it was like this entire presentation was made for me. I obviously don't believe that, but that was the level of sort of integration. It just feels like when I talked to my wife earlier, she said, "You're just plugged in." I was like, that's what it feels like. Feels like for whatever reason, this is where I belong. We also got to hear Stacey Abrams speak this morning, the former Georgia House representative and candidate for governor. That woman is a superstar. I have rarely heard someone speak with that much clarity and that much passion and intelligence. It was just remarkable. So that also felt like, how did I stumble into this? So anyway, where this all leaves me is that I have to follow this. I have to let myself be moved by these currents, by these energetic currents in my life. There's clearly something I'm being plugged into. And if it doesn't look like what I've been maybe looking for, or if it doesn't look like what I thought it was going to look like, that's fine. That's fine. Because the commitment is always to the moment. The commitment is always to what is this generating on a deep level in terms of my evolution and then my ability to contribute. And I've got some thinking to do, and it's, I've been doing some thinking, but I've got some, I think, some real clarifying to do as far as here's what I'm most about right now. Maybe I don't have to do that. Maybe that's not that important. It's interesting. Whenever I hear Sadhguru speak about getting really like clarity of purpose and stuff, he's like, just be here. Just be awake. Be present. If you're present, your purpose reveals itself very quickly. And so I'm leaning into that a little bit too. I'm just allowing myself to receive these energetic currents and go with them, but not define them right now. It's in defining myself, defining my identity, that I think we can get into, I can get into trouble, and maybe I'm not the only one who can get into trouble around, a kind of compulsive need to define our identity that's not an actual need. There's no actual need to define our identity. We simply are just being. That's necessary. So that's kind of where I'm at. Feels somewhat inconclusive, but also somehow liberating. I feel somehow like I am being plugged into something, like I am discovering something that's a deep part of me, and that is calling me onwards. Hard to complain. Feels pretty good. And I'm still in my amazing hotel. I mean, come on. That's where I'm at today, folks. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. This saga will continue to unfold, and I will continue to share it. But I appreciate you. Have a great day.